As always, step one of the homebrew process is always to open a homebrew. At the beginning of the brewing process, you always want to pull your yeast out of the fridge and let it sit so that it can get to room temperature. So right now we're heating our water to 170 degrees so that when we add it to our mash tun with the grains, it'll equal to a temperature of 154 degrees. So this is our mash tun, just a cooler, and inside we have a little strainer hooked up to the nozzle, and this will allow us to drain only the liquid out and leave the grains inside. So now that our water is at 170 degrees, we're going to add a half gallon of it to our empty mash tun so that it stabilizes the temperature. Now that we've let it sit for a few minutes with the lid closed, we're ready to add the grains. Here we are adding the grains. You want to make sure you pour them evenly across the mash tun. And spread them out. And now we're going to add water to bring it up a couple inches above the grains. And we're going to stir it up, make sure that all of the grains are soaked. All right. And closing the lid. Okay, and we're going to set our timer for an hour. And let the grain seep. Okay, now we're going to do a little check just to make sure our temperatures are correct. And what are we at?
156.
156 degrees. So within a half hour of the mash, we're going to put our strike water on to bring it up to near boiling. You use the strike water to raise the temperature of the mash tun up to 170 degrees. What we're doing right now is called batch sparging. We're going to fill up the mash tun with the rest of our strike water. And we're doing it through the strainer so that we don't disrupt the grain bed. We're just about full here, so we're going to lift our strainer out. And close it up for 20 minutes. Our 20 minutes is up, and now what we're going to do is drain our wort into our boil pot. We're going to do this very slowly. And what we're looking for here is 7.5 gallons for a 5-gallon batch, because when we boil, a lot of it is going to boil down. So we're going to open the valve very slightly so we have a nice slow drain. And there it goes. Okay, so we filled up our pot completely with our wort, and now we're outside, ready to boil. So have it hooked up to our propane tank, and very important to note that we are outside. And now we put the lid on so that it reaches the boil faster. Okay, so now that we're boiling, we're going to go ahead and start with our hop schedule. Hop schedules vary. You can add them 60 minutes, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. The amount of hops that you add during the time of the boil makes a whole lot of difference. When you're adding the hops, add them slowly, because if you add them too quickly, it tends to boil over and you'll lose some of the hops. Also, when you add hops at the beginning of the boil, you're adding to the flavor. When you add them to the end of the boil, you're adding to the aroma. The reason we put the wort chiller in early at about 10 or 15 minutes is to sterilize it. Alright, there's 15 minutes left in the boil, and we're going to go ahead and put our wort chiller in. Our boil is finished, and now it's time to chill our wort. So we already have the wort chiller in. All you need to do is turn on the hose and let it run until it cools down. We have our thermometer in here, and the target temperature is between 70 to 83 degrees. So our wort got down to the appropriate temperature, and we poured it from the boiling pot to our bucket. Next we pitched our yeast. Then we added the lid and the airlock, and you always want to make sure you have a little bit of water in the airlock. And that's it. Now we wait.